What is up? What is up, guys? Let me put this right there. Here we are again with another couples therapy where we talk about a movie. We take turns picking one. This was obviously, when you see the thumbnail, you're going to know who picked this one right here to be the lovely Brandi picked this movie. But biggest reason why she picked it was because she knew the person that actually wrote the book that this movie is based on. If you wanted to talk about that for a second.
Yeah, back in 2017, I met Robin Lee, who on Twitter, she was in another movie that I liked, and I followed her on Twitter. And then I heard she was writing a book, and then the book came out, and it was called The Idea of You. And I fell in love with the book. I gave it to my cousin. My cousin fell in love with the book. I got to meet Robin. She came to a book store near me, and I got to meet her and talk about the book a little. And yeah, and then I found out that they were making a movie, and I just couldn't wait to see how it turned out. And the movie is out now, and I liked it. I liked it.
So you like the movie? We'll start off with you. We'll start with probably because we all know this ain't like my favorite type of movie in the world. Just like some of the movies that I'll pick is not your favorite type of the movie. That is what this is about. Like, because I just think it's cool that like we both do like some things together, and then we also like some things kind of on our own a little bit. And this is the like bring it together so that we can talk about it afterwards and everything else, even though it might not be my favorite kind of movie or your favorite kind of movie. And that's why I even thought of the name like couples therapy, because this is a cool thing to do where you kind of sit down, do your thing, spend time with the other half, and like maybe do something that you technically wouldn't do normally, but you're doing it because you're together as a couple. And I think it's cool to like sit back and talk about like the different things and why you either like or don't like something and whatnot. So we'll start off with the most positive person that's probably going to be on this movie. It's going to be Brandi. So let me know, like, you're not a Anne Hathaway fan, so you can start off with like, did you like her in this movie, even though you're not her, like, she's not your favorite actress, okay? So like,
no, she's. I love Anne's acting. I just had a run-in with her. I met her, and it wasn't the most like.
She wasn't the most friendliest. Okay.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't the most friendly. I'm a very, even me getting on the camera like this is a little nerve-wracking for me. So I have social anxiety, and she just made me feel just a little tiny. And some people, don't meet some of your favorite actors, they say, and that was one of them. I wish I hadn't had that interaction with, but I did. And whatever, she's moved on, and hopefully she's changed from 2007. So it was way back in the day. But I do enjoy her. I do enjoy her acting. I think she's a fine actress. She does really good. I was a fan of her when she came out and stuff. Like, I've watched a lot of her movies. I do think she's a good actress. But yeah, so
like I don't mind Anne Hathaway. I think she does do a good acting job and stuff in the movies that I've seen her in. Like, I've enjoyed her performances in a lot. I don't think she's even bad in this movie. The one weird part, I guess it would be for Anne Hathaway in this movie for me is like you got obviously this really handsome like young guy who's in a boy band. So he has to be that to because that's what boy bands are. There's no ugly dudes in boy bands. And like,
I mean, there could be. There's been a few.
There might be a one or two questionable ones, but most of the time you're thinking of like young, handsome men being in these like boy band kind of things. And in the movie, the boy band's called August Moon. And he happens to open the door and see her, and his reaction. And I'm not saying, look, Anne Hathaway is a beautiful lady, okay? I'm not saying that she's not cute or adorable, whatever words you want to call, because she is. But like how shocked he was when he saw her the first time, to me was kind of unbelievable, because I don't look at Anne Hathaway as like, oh, she's a knockout. Like, if I were to bust up on Anne Hathaway, I wouldn't be like jaw agape, like, oh my God.
Listen,
like I said, she ain't.
I don't care. She's very beautiful. I would probably like, you're gorgeous.
Hey, what it is, it is what it is. One man's trash, another man's treasure, kind of thing. Like we all have different outlooks and stuff like that. Like, she's just not knocked down gorgeous to me. So so as me personally, I was kind of like, would he really make that reaction? Because like she's pretty and she's attractive, right? So like she would be a lady that I would see walking in town, and if I'm if I was single and not with Brandi over here, like I would do like a double take, like I saw her out of the corner of my eye, kind of walking by, and I might like follow her a little bit longer than any other girl that I saw that day or something, right? But she's not like, oh my God, like I look stupid, got stupid look on my face, and I get stupid and stammer in my words, good looking to me. You know what I'm saying?
As a young man, would you?
And we all know that like her in the movies with all the makeup and stuff they got, that she even probably looks better in the movie than what she does just walking around town. You know what I'm saying? To be honest. So I'm just saying, like, so that part right there. But yeah, so like, even with that being said, you said you overall enjoyed the movie. Like, so just tell us like why you enjoyed it. Maybe a couple of scenes or something like that you really enjoyed.
Listen, I as a woman who is older, I did feel like the dating scene, I'm too whatever. I'm not gonna find somebody. And I found myself a little bit younger man.
Yeah. It's not like in the movie younger over there, guys.
No.
I got gray in my beard over here. On this side right here, right there at the top.
You're like 9 months younger than me. No, something like that. But anyway, I just to just feel wanted, and then she kind of like, okay, this guy does like me. So she kind of, when you see her walk, when I seen her walk to go to the hotel after he invited her to New York, and then she just walked in with all this confidence, I was like, she's owning herself. Like, she's like, yes, I'm a woman.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the better parts of the movie. I agree with you.
Like, I just really like that. She just like, okay, I'm going to do this. This is me. I'm just going to live my life a little, because she did go through shit with her ex.
Yeah.
And, and he went with a younger woman. So why is it wrong for her to go for a younger guy?
No, yeah. I enjoyed that part of the movie too a little bit, because like I can understand the plight of like, it's anybody. It could be like, because until I'm with Brandi and stuff like that, like I was a single father for a really long time, man, and still basically taking care of my kid on my own, like, so I get it, I understand like completely. So like I kind of felt a little bit of that because of that situation. It's not, I'm just let you go, guys. It's not easier being a single parent, no matter if you're a man or a woman. It still sucks. No matter who you are, it sucks on the dating scene. It sucks like, because you have to be careful. You can't just have anybody around your kids and everything else and all that. And like, me and Brandi kind of met just by happen chance, because we happen to have like friends in a certain group. Probably not ever even met if it wasn't for COVID, for instance. So like, I guess you have one of those good tales that you can tell about like the COVID period. So like I understood like what she was going through. So that part of the movie was really super good. Like I have to give them props for that. And I have to give Anne Hathaway props, because she made you like feel it in moments and stuff like that. And like you said, she finally got like confidence up that like, oh, this dude ain't just playing around with me or whatever. Like he's serious. He really likes me. And that's what got her confidence, is when she like realized like, oh yeah, like he really does like me. He's not just like goofing around. Or when she felt that way, right?
Yeah.
But what else? Was there any other things about the movie, or you just basically loved it because it was a love story?
I do love love stories. I do. But like I said, I loved her confidence that she came out of, and she's like, I'm going to do this and have fun and go travel and do something for her, because she's always doing something for other people. It's a little different in the book. In the book, Hayes is actually a little younger, and her daughter is actually a little younger. So there's a little age difference. They aged them up a little. It worked for the movie. I love the book. Of course, there's more details in the book than what there are.
Just to give you a little bit of a thing here, because you told me, like, I didn't even know this, but right before we started recording, you had said something about the book was written in 2017. Yeah, 2017, I think they could have got away with it with him being a little younger, but let's say it today, everybody wants to complain about something. And if he was too young or considered too young, like let's say closer to 18 or just like barely not even 21, it'd be a problem.
It is a double standard with the guys can go for younger and they don't say nothing, but if a woman goes for a younger guy, ooh.
Well, we talked about this a little bit too. I agree that it is work. Like my biggest problem with today and age is like people having discussions about stuff. It's like everything seems to be only black and white. There's only one right way, and then if it's not that complete, direct, exact thing, it's the wrong way. So my problem in some of these discussions is this. Yes, it sucks. And I will agree, it is worse on a sliding scale for women to have to deal with this issue. Mm-hmm. But men have to deal with this as well. If you're an older man and you go with a super younger chick, everybody likes to pretend like that kind of person gets like high fives and congratulated by everybody. No, there's a lot of people that don't look good on that either. If, like, for instance, me and my circle, and if of friends and everything else that I'm around, if we see something like that, we start questioning it. We and to a certain point ridicule it, talk about how like somebody's like robbing the cradle and stuff. So we don't like high five the guy for going after this super young girl. Like we know what's up, you know what I'm saying, and everything else. But there are those like there are those moments. This is the hard part too. Is it's all not like. It's sometimes it's in the gray area because maybe these people really do love each other. So like when you ridicule these things, either way, man or woman, right? Like whoever's the older one, in this area, it doesn't matter. There are those slim instances where you could find the love of your life and you truly be in love with them, right? Like in this, for instance, would be a story of an example of that. She finds this younger guy. They fall in love and they really do love each other. And you think, well, they might have a chance to work. But 90% of the time, in 90% of those cases, they don't work. So that's why people automatically like look at it as like, well, we know what you're doing, dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I will say men do get criticized. Don't act like they don't. Well, whenever you talk about this subject, because men do get called names, they get ridiculed. But I would say, yes, not as much as the women do. So I do agree with that. Like it's like a double standard, but it's not just a clear cut double standard. It's not like, this far apart. It's more like this far apart. The women get it worse, but like it is like a thing to where men do get criticized. But there are idiots out there that'll be like, oh yeah, look at this guy. He's going out there getting the young hottie. But it's also because like too, men and women do look at things and attractiveness in different ways, right? Like men overall are more like they look for beauty and attractiveness, and a lot of people and I think it may be even the wrong thing, but that's how our society is, thinks that being younger and stuff is part of that beauty scale or whatever. So like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot more guys that probably do that and stuff like that. But like I said, if you're doing it for the wrong reason, it's disgusting to me, seriously. And I'll call people out on it if I feel that way or get that kind of notion.
I have to say, I like some of the music in it too. I like some of the music that they had in there.
Yeah,
with the band and with what they were playing. I knew some of the songs. It was very playful in some of the scenes, and I enjoyed that. I liked the playful when they were in the hotel room and they were singing Wang Chung. I liked that. That was cute. I liked that the art that he gave her, the piece that she said that it was everything, what she sees in it, she sees everything. And
yeah, art's subjective. Art is subjective because she's looking at that thing mesmerized, and I'm like, I see some trees, man. I mean, the art piece was a cool art piece and everything, but I'm like looking at it and I'm not having this inner dialogue of like how it makes me feel everything. I'm like, oh, it's a cool like art piece about, the trees and like how beautiful maybe just getting away from the city could be or something, but I'm not getting into like, oh, it makes me feel everything.
But you're not into art like that, so maybe,
hey, don't be trying to like act like I ain't into art.
Listen.
I got art behind me right now.
Listen, it's different things make people feel different things. So what
Oh
She
yeah,
felt
I mean,
from
but
that.
art's always
What you feel
done that.
behind you, you probably feel the same way about that as she felt about the picture and the painting in there.
No, I 100% agree. It's like I can appreciate the fact, like, kind of into this whole couple therapy thing. It's like I can appreciate the fact that you love this style of movie and you really liked it and you thought like, oh, there was adorable things that happened and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. I'm not going to feel as much. Like I said, the most feeling I got from this movie that I thought they did do a pretty good job with is the fact of, like, being the single parent and it
Mm-hmm.
being kind of tough and you're trying to do everything. You can't ignore your kid, but you got to do your stuff and
Mm-hmm.
all that. But I just thought the movie, it was pretty well done, pretty well produced. One of the things especially if it's a straight up love story like this movie is I kind of judge it based on, like, could I have seen this on Hallmark? Because some of those movies just,
Yeah.
they just look like, oh, I could have saw this on the Hallmark channel and I would have thought it was all, but they did. The acting was way
Yeah.
above the
There wouldn't
Hallmark
be as much
channel.
kissing in the Hallmark channel.
Yeah, but there was no, it might have been, but like the problem is, like, the acting sometimes, like on movies on the Hallmark channel, sucks. The directors suck, and that kind of stuff. Like you said, the music was better. It was you could tell that, even though it was a simple story, that it was high production, right? High
Mm-hmm.
production value. So that right there gave it some points. There, I thought Anne Hathaway did really good. I don't even know the name of the actor that played the August Moon, like, singer that she fell in love with. He's like, I think he's like a newer guy or whatever, but like I thought he did really well and everything else. I mean, I really thought that the movie was at least done well. You know what I'm saying? It's not a movie that I get excited to watch. It's a movie that I would have never watched if you wouldn't have picked it. I wouldn't have said, let me go watch this and everything else. But like I said, I didn't think it was a bad movie at all.
No.
I only had, and I kind of said something about this a little bit earlier. I only had like just a couple of little minor issues here. Like her daughter one time, like, her daughter finds out that she's with this guy and she's been a fan of the band for like a long time when she was like really young. And her daughter is like at first like, oh, you lied to me and stuff. But then she's like, and it was just weird to me how you wouldn't just automatically go to, was he a good guy? Does he love you for real? Those kind of questions. You went to like, is he a feminist? And I'm like, bro, like, they never even talked about that in the movie. Like, Hathaway's character never asked him about that. Like, nothing. That wasn't even part of the movie, and it just came out of nowhere. And you even heard me audibly say something at that moment. I was like, oh God. I was like, bro, why? Like, why did that come out of nowhere? Why was that question? Like, if it was my mom, the first things in my mind, even if, like, say I was a girl and I was into feminism and stuff like that, like, and all that, like, I would just feel like, as a person, my first thing to my mom would be like, does he treat you good? Does he really love you? Is he playing a game with you? Because obviously you're older than he is. Like, is he just, doing a fling type thing? Do you feel like he really cares for you and stuff? That would be the questions I ask. And then I might get to that, right? Like, maybe my fifth or sixth or seventh thing that I asked would be, is he a feminist? I was just like, bro, why is the first thing out of her mouth is that it came out of nowhere? Because, like, in the movie, he's just a normal guy. Like, they don't have no discussions about that kind of stuff. So like, it was kind of weird to me. And I do agree, like we just talked about earlier, because we talked about it for a good 5 or 10 minutes, like on this breakdown. And I think it's the most interesting thing to talk about with this film is the fact of the age difference and it being a woman and the man being the younger one. I wish this movie had potential, I think, to really get really interesting if it would have went further. If it would have went, 10 or 15. So like, there's a time gap where it goes 5 years and they end up meeting up again. He got away from being in the boy band, I guess, and he became more of a single artist or whatever, and all this stuff, it seems like. And they get together 5 years later. But I would have liked it to win it even further. They get the meet up 5 years later. We know they're together. And then it does another time jump of 10 or 15 years when she's like 55 or 60 and he's still kind of young, like 35, 40, or maybe just above 40 and everything else. Like, where is the relationship then? Is he going to be, because this is the tough part about a relationship like that, when it's that big of a gap. A couple of years, couple of months, whatever, not going to be a big deal in most cases. But it's like, when that's that big of a gap, and he's like still got maybe some younger women that's interested in him or think that he's still handsome and everything else. And she's like at the age of 60, like, is he going to be that loyal to her? Is he going to still be there? You know, like that'd be the big question, and it'd be cool to find out. And they could take the story wherever they wanted. Maybe he's truly faithful, right? And she's 60, having a walker, and he's still like early 40s, and he's like helping her get to the car and stuff, right? Like, or you could do where, you know, the attractiveness goes away and stuff like that, and he ends up doing, you know, the piece of shit thing that you could kind of do. Like, it would have been an interesting thing to see, like, where they would take it later on. Because to me, when you're younger with a bigger age gap, it's not as big of a thing, right? It's whenever you get older and there's still that big age gap. Because there's a big, like, huge difference in someone like in that 40s to like 25 range. There's a difference, but there's not as big of a difference. But then when you hit that like upper tier age, you know, your body's starting to get super, you know, your body's changing a lot and everything else, like that kind of thing. I think that's where the interesting talk could become. Is he still going to be as faithful as he portrays to be when you get to that point? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So are you saying you want to see a sequel?
Hey, I mean, I think that could be, not really. I don't know if I want to see a whole movie. Like, it could have been another 15 minutes longer, and you kind of get like this little shot of like how they're treating each other. Are they still together?
You want a sequel? It's okay, Justin.
That's all right, man. Like I said, I didn't hate the movie. I like the movie. Like I said, there was just a couple of nitpicks. Like I said, that one dialogue scene came out of nowhere and kind of hit. It was like, what the?
Yeah, I know. And there's a few things too. Is like the daughter saying, "Oh yeah, I got this. Let's do this. I can handle it." And then 5 minutes later,
yeah, that's another thing. Yeah.
I'm
so
gonna
the
stay
daughter,
with Dad. It's too much.
To give people a little context. So the daughter in this film, later on, she's like, and after she finds out, they end up talking to the guy, you know, Anne Hathaway's in love with, infatuated through. They're basically having a meeting, and they're talking about the things that are going to be hard. Oh yeah, we're going to delete our social media. If we don't see it, we don't know it. You know, ignorance is bliss. And like, even her friends are in the same room with the discussion. Like, yeah, we're gonna do it and everything else. So she's even got support from some friends, and she's agreeing to it and telling her mom, like, yeah, you shouldn't let this stop you. We're gonna be tough. We're gonna do this. And then, to me, it should have been a longer part of that movie where you see her going through some tough stuff, but she's still telling her mom to keep going. And then finally her wall gets broke down. But because they do it so fast, within like a 5-minute gap in the movie, like they have that discussion, and then like 5 minutes later, she's already dumping her mom and saying she's going to go live with her dad because she can't take it anymore and everything else. And I thought it was funny because it was some of her friends that was asking. One of the things that, like, so two things happened to her that makes her like be like, oh, I can't do this no more. So there's her friends are asking for dick pics, okay, which is something weird I would find in this movie, especially since they mentioned like feminism and stuff, because they ask for dick pics, and it's like, wait 1 second, ain't that like it's supposed to be a bad thing that like women wouldn't want to technically ask for? You know what I'm saying? Because they criticize it so much when they get sent one, you know, if they're not in a couple with someone. And then like you have the other one was like her boyfriend, or the guy that she wanted to be her boyfriend that she liked, comes up to her and says, hey, I'll just let your mom know I turn 18 in a couple of months.
Yeah.
So that actually was almost like, that was kind of a funny thing, but like it doesn't make sense though that like I said, those couple of things happen. She's like dumps her mom. And then like not even that much further in the movie,
the husband, the ex-husband.
Yeah. Well, see, I see where the ex-husband's coming from, and everything else. Like I see where
he's
his
like, "You're my wife," and I'm like, "You know, you're not his wife anymore." I don't agree
with that idiot. Listen,
no,
I don't agree with that dumbass. I'm gonna tell you a little story right here. A little story. So I have been married before. I was married for like 7 years. Had a divorce. We're divorced. Within that first year period, I meet a girl, like we're kind of talking, not like super serious yet and stuff like that. It was around Halloween time. The lady I was talking to had a kid as well. So we just made a plan. We were going to go like trick or treating together, her son and my son getting together, hanging out and doing the thing. Well, my ex-wife like had took my son to something earlier that day for Halloween, and then I was supposed to get him that night. Well, she brings him to the area of town where we were doing the trick-or-treating. And she's like, well, I want to see him go up to a couple of houses because I just took him to trunk or treating at a church. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, so I'll go with you a little bit. We'll split up from the friend that I'm with now. And me and you will take our son to like go to a couple of houses. I understood like what she was trying to do, right? Like trying to see a couple of houses. We do that. And then she kind of tries to stick around. It's like, hey, I'm being rude to the friend that I'm with right now. So I need to go back to that person because that's what our plan was.
Yeah.
And we like come by and like the first thing is like, oh, she like takes my son like angrily and is making him go back with her. And he's still wanting to be with us trick-or-treating only because she's like jealous, right? And she even, makes a comment of like, you don't want to be with your family. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're the reason why we're not together.
Yeah.
Like we're divorced. We're not husband and wife anymore. So that exact thing and line happened in my real life. So like that kind of thing happened. So like I get where he's coming. I'm not saying I understand and agree with what he said. I obviously do not agree with what his ass was saying. But I've seen that other side. So I like the character being wrote that way and what he's saying in the movie.
It's true to life.
Yeah, makes sense and true to life to his like position or whatever. And plus he just got dumped by his younger girlfriend and everything else and like all that kind of stuff. So like in that point in that movie, like I get where he's coming from as far as like the character goes.
Yeah.
So I can understand that. And that's what he was supposed to be there for anyway. Although I do give them props, even though they make him look shitty in that aspect, it did seem like they didn't make him like a total shitbag because it did seem like he really did care about his daughter. Like even when like after that scene when he gets in an argument with Anne Hathaway's character and they get out of the house and he's not around her anymore and the paparazzi's out there, he's defending his daughter, telling those people to go take a hike and everything else. He buys his daughter like a brand new car. You know what I'm saying? Like I mean, but he does seem to be there. Like you know what I'm saying? Like he it wasn't like he just threw her away. And like the daughter actually liked her dad, so like she didn't hate it. She didn't like what he did, right? Like why him and his mom's not together. But like she did like her dad. Like the first thing she did was go to her dad for protection, right? Whenever she felt like she was being attacked and stuff because her mom was with this boy band star, she does go to her dad. She doesn't so I give him props for not making him a total douchebag. Yeah. He was only a douchebag to Anne Hathaway's character.
No, I think he was a douche. Yeah, and he was a douchebag in like trying to buy the daughter more stuff, and she was like, we had a budget. Like we had a budget, like I'm giving her easel and paint and you're buying her a brand new car. He was like, I got it on CarMax. I'm like, but you're still getting her a car. But he did get her the VIP tickets, but then he decided, oh, well, I can't take her now because I got to do this work thing. Now you got to take the kid to this. And she's like, I had other plans and this was your time with her. And he did, he is trying to like buy his daughter a little bit in ways. So I see that.
But I can't understand as a court known, they don't get into it really much, but like most divorces, especially like when the mom's a good mom, the mom gets basically custody and the dad only gets like certain times and stuff like that. So sometimes I understand where the dad's like doing things like that because he's trying to make up because he's losing a bunch of time, not even on his fault. Like it's kind of his fault, obviously, because he like in this case, but not every case is it the guy's fault. No. Right.
But
so
in
like
this case it was.
In this case it was. So it was kind of his fault. But like I understand like in a general term, like, maybe trying to overdo it a little bit with something that they can help with, right? Like like I said, I give them props. They didn't make him a total piece of crap. Because a lot of times they'll just make that person like a obviously all around super bad guy. You know what I'm saying? And I was pleasantly surprised that like they did give him a little bit of like, you're not total garbage. Like you're a good dad. You're just not a good husband. Like, so at least he had something going for him there. But I ain't gonna lie to you, the way this movie started, where she's like going out in the woods, I literally thought I didn't know nothing about this movie. So I didn't know she was gonna meet a boy band thing or whatever. So I'm just like, oh, she's gonna go out in the woods and some dude's gonna come out of nowhere and save her life. And there's gonna be this story about like how they got together because he like saved her from a bear or something, which could have been maybe even a better movie. But
You just like
but
bears.
but hey, like that's how it is. But like I said, I didn't hate this movie. There was a couple of qualms, but I don't
No,
think it was as bad. It didn't like beat you over the head with anything,
no.
and all that kind of stuff. It didn't do any of that. And
Another thing that I found like a little weird was the girl that the husband left Anne Hathaway's character for. She's like,
whatever.
yeah, she's like, she just blurts out, "I'm leaving him, by the way. You want to go to lunch?" Like, I'm like, what? Like, what?
You
like,
know
no.
what's sad about that
like,
is?
No.
You know what's sad about that is, Brandi, me and you are on the older side. You know, like we're middle age.
Mm-hmm.
So like we still got a little bit of old school mentality to us. So like when we hear that, like we're both like, oh, that's stupid. Why would she even ask? Like you've really broke up a family.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna ask some stupid shit like that. But the sad part is I actually think that would be something that would happen in this day and age, just because people are so used to like couples not being together.
And some families, whatever. I mean, they get along. You know, like the exes and the.
But like she ain't even staying in the family, so it was weird for her to ask that or act that way. But like I'm gonna tell you, I think in this day and age, like some of the younger crowd, when I say that, maybe 20s, maybe even like around 30 or so now, like these people's grown up with so many broken families that like it probably just doesn't seem as weird. It's like it's rampant. It goes for both men and women. Probably men's probably even the worst case on this one is like just people cheating and not being faithful and not standing by their other person and stuff, no matter what, through the thick and thin, is like something that don't even like it happens so often these days. It's almost like you're being desensitized to it. It's almost like, oh, that's fine for you to get married and get a divorce a couple of years later. That's what everybody does.
Yeah.
Like, and that's sad. Like that shouldn't be the thing, man. We shouldn't be doing those kind of things. We shouldn't be running around acting stupid like that. And like,
you're stuck with me for the rest of your life.
But not running around and like not taking stuff like marriage seriously and shit. Like that's just like it's a downfall to this country and stuff like that. And it comes to like the simplest things to me. We always try to make things so complicated these days, but it's not complicated. You don't have to have all these stories and all this lore behind why something's bad, dude. It's bad because it's bad. You know, stop people making excuses. It's just like we're a bunch of people that endlessly make excuses, right? And endlessly makes excuses. Like, you know, this is still being a little personal on my side. It's like, I'm not married now because the other person cheated. And you're not
going to be friends with the guy that she's not with anymore.
Hell no. Hell no. But my point being, with that being said is like, yes, I can just I can be like a lot of other people and just be like, well, that's the reason and I'm in the right. No, man, you know what? There's other things I could have still did better that would have caused that thing not to happen, right? I could have been a better husband in ways. I'm not totally innocent in some things. And that's the biggest problem these days is nobody wants to take a responsibility for their actions. Nobody wants to say, well, I could have been better. A better person in this area that could have stopped this other bad thing from happening, or I could have made better decisions in this point. It's always like, oh, well, I got an easy excuse. It's like you grow up and you're a guy and you're freaking and you beat on women or something like that. And you use the excuse of, well, my dad did it. That's what my dad did when I grew up. And that's your excuse for doing it. Literally, that should be the reason why you're not doing it. Right? That should be the reason. You saw your dad do that to your mom or something like that. You should be so grossed out by that it should be the last thing that you do. But yet people just use those things. Well, my dad treated me like shit, or my mom did this or something like that. That's why I'm doing. No, bro, like it's your fault. You chose to be that way in the end. Okay. And like so many people not taking responsibility for their actions and stuff like that is what it is. But that kind of stuff's stupid. But that being said, last part of this, let's grade the movie. What do you give the idea of you, Brandi?
So it's mid-level for me. So I'm going to say about a 6.5. That's.
I thought you'd be higher. I mean, but you obviously, and listen, guys, 6.5 is not bad. I don't know why people think that's bad.
It's the mid-range for me. It's like not like, oh my God, it's the best thing in the world. I loved it. You know, I love the movie. I wish there was like more. Like, of course I want more. Of course I wish there was going to be a part 2 to it, or where you see where they go and
yeah, I didn't need
what
part
happens.
2. I'd like to see one like older age. I would have liked to seen another 15-year time gap, like with a 10-minute scene of how they are as a couple, and then like how is it working? Are they still together or they're not? And everything else. But you can kind of do that in your head. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna give this movie. This is straight up what it is. I'm gonna give this movie straight down the middle a 5 because it's not my type of movie, but the story wasn't super bad. I didn't feel like it was the hardest thing to sit through. And I thought the stuff that they did pretty well. But it's just not my kind of story is the reason why it's not getting
Maybe
over 5.
up mine to 7, 6.5, 7. That's my range there.
Right. Because I'm not one of those that just because this isn't my style of story that I'm just going to be like, oh, this is crap. I'm going to realize that this movie's not made, it's not my style of story that I love to watch, but I could tell it was done well and the story wasn't done bad for what they told. Like, like I said, there could have been a little bit more. They could have took 1 or 2 things, changed a couple little things, like gave the daughter a little more depth as far as like, not turning on her mom so fast, because she turns on her mom and then like not even 5 minutes later after that, her and her mom's having a call on Skype or whatever, where she's in Chicago, I guess in college or something at that point.
Yeah.
And they're like best friends again. It's like, bro, like there should probably be a little more of a rift because like you abandoned your mom after you told her that you wouldn't. Like, so like I said, there's just couple of little things here and there they could have added into it to make it a little better story, but it wasn't ultimately bad. It wasn't hideous. No. It's definitely a movie that a couple could sit down and watch. And
she did it. She broke up with them for her daughter, Right. She just exactly. In the end, it's like her happiness. Her daughter's her happiness. Her
they
daughter
lost 5 years.
Her happiness.
They lost 5 years. Because her daughter was selfish. Like, let's be honest.
If Eli said to you that he didn't approve of this relationship, would you still be with me?
Here goes the thing. If Eli said something like that, came to me and had said something like that, you're right. My son means there's nobody ever going to mean more to me than my son. Right. Okay. There's people that can get equal to that, right? I can love people up to almost the equal level, right there at the same thing. But I'm never going to like he's the thing. Like that's it, right? So if he came up to me with legitimate concerns or something like that and was upset, and if in my mind at that moment I was like, well, I have to leave her, right? Like I have to leave her because my son's saying this. Then at that moment, if that's the first thing that comes to my mind, or if that's the thing I decide to do, at that moment, it's me saying that I didn't truly love this person. Right. But now my son came to me and he says that same thing. And then me and him have a discussion. And then I like basically go to war with my son a little bit because I love you. That means I really do love you. So I wouldn't just toss you to the side like she did.
Yeah.
Because to me, if you're willing to separate like that, do you truly love that person? Are you truly in love with that person? Because there's a difference between like the love I have for like a son and someone and the love that you're going to have with someone that you're in love with to be a couple. Like there's a difference in there. And if I truly love this person that I think could be like the person that's going to be with me for the rest of my life or something like that, and I'm just going to throw them away just because my son has complaints or gets mad, then did I truly love that person to begin with? I got to start questioning myself. But if I'm willing to say like,
but you know that they're a good person. This person is a good person. He didn't really do anything bad. It was just he was more had stardom and it just got a lot to it. He wasn't a bad person.
Exactly. Yeah, it would be different if he would have did something wrong to her, say like cheat or something like that, right? And then she's still trying to be with him, and then the daughter's like, "Oh, screw you, I'm out of here." Then that's a reason to do that. He didn't do none of that. It was literally just because he was famous and like the paparazzi stuff or whatever was getting to her. Like I said, man, she kind of just like throws her mom away after she told her mom that she was down to fight. You know what I'm saying? And that would be different too. If my son came to me and was like, "Oh, Brandi's too famous for you, like, and we're gonna have to deal with a bunch of stuff." But you know what, Dad? you know what, you should be with Brandi anyway, because we can fight through this. And then a few months later, my son decides he didn't want to fight through it because it was worse than he thought. Me and my son's going to have an argument because I'm going to be like, no, son, you said you were going to stand up for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're the one that chose this. From the beginning, we had the discussion. You agreed for this to happen, and now you're trying to quit. Now you're turning your back. That'd be a totally different thing. Totally different thing. But unless you got some last words, that'll be it.
Watch the movie. Give it a chance. Might surprise you, Justin. I didn't know how Justin would. He gave it a 5. I thought it was actually going to go lower, but he gave it a 5. And
no, it was good quality. Like I said, a good quality movie gets a 5 out of me. If the story's so good that like I'm like, oh shit, it surprised me. Oh great. Like, okay, for instance, like I watched Serendipity, for instance, not thinking it was going to be like, oh, I'm going to love this movie. Like I do like a couple of the actors in it and stuff, so that's why I gave it more of a chance. I sat down and watched it. It was done very good quality, but the story like was so much better than I thought it would ever be, right? In that particular movie. That jumps up to a 7.5, almost an 8, like to me, for that. This movie doesn't do that. It's not a Serendipity. It doesn't tell this like really super cool interwoven story, you know, kind of thing. It's like literally just a story that's told. There's nothing fancy, nothing crazy with it. You know, it's just the only thing crazy would be that she happened to like fall in love with this like boy band guy, like star. But that's like not super crazy. Like that could happen possibly. You know what I'm saying? Like more than a glove that gets at a rink with this one girl who like really believes in like signs and things that are happening around her happens for a reason, and then writes her name and number on like a bill that she goes and like spends on a freaking random magazine that he has to like luckily one day get change that has that information on it, or that book, right? Like, or the book that has like something on there. So it's like, all right, whatever, man. It's like, all right, cool, pretty crazy.
But I also wanted to say, read the book. I actually like the book better than the movie. But yeah, I'm more of I like the books better than a lot of movies anyway. So
most of the time the books are better, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely check the book out if you haven't. If you've watched this movie and you haven't read the book, go read the book.
With that being said, we're out of here. Until next time on Couples Therapy, me and Brandi will be back. It'll be my pick next, so get excited because it'll probably be something a lot crazier. All right, until next time, peace.